Dr. Jeff Goldstein. So with that, I guess we'll go on to segment number 2.
Okay, so now that I've kind of laid, I think, a groundwork for science, I guess the next step is to say, well, what has this adventure revealed about our place in space? And I think the way to start this is to recognize that every one of us, including the youngest of kids, are explorers in every sense of the word themselves, because they, on a daily basis, navigate through a complex world and hopefully do it successfully. And we do it because we have a toolbox always by our side. We may not know that it's there, we may forget that it's there, but there is this toolbox we carry with us, and in it are this powerful array of tools that we've honed over the years that allow us to navigate through the world around us successfully. And many of those tools fall in 3 categories: rulers, clocks, and models. It's a way that we have the ability to take complexity and make it conceptually understandable. And it allows us to build bridges to the familiar so that even an alien landscape, if you build the appropriate bridges, is knowable. And so let me concentrate on a couple of these tools for our program today. And so let me hold something up for you. I'm going to go get it over here in my bag of tricks, and I'm going to cover this up, and I'm going to show this to you. And does anybody know what this is? Bill in Duluth says, wow, it's a plane, and it's the Spirit of St. Louis. And you're right. There it is, Bill. And so what's interesting is that you looked at this photograph, and it was enough detail for you to recognize that it was not only a plane, but a historical plane. And if I open up this box, you can see that it's made of balsa wood and plastic, and there are directions, and there's plastic wheels and a propeller. And so I can build a physical model of the Spirit of St. Louis. A physical model is a physical representation of something real, and often the physical model is much smaller than the real thing, or it could be much larger than the real thing. So for instance, think of a model of something very, very small. Well, you might think of a model of a cell or an ant, or say a model of DNA. These are things that are so small relative to the scale of our world that a model helps us explore the real thing as a model. And we typically build a model about our size so that we can manipulate it and explore it. And so on this particular model, once it's built, I could figure out how many wheels the Spirit of St. Louis had if it's an accurate model. We'll note that there is no window in the front. We could see how big the engine is. We could see how big the engine is relative to the wingspan. And some of you might even know that it's more than just a plane that we can explore as a model. There's a history behind it. And I used to work at the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, the most visited museum on the planet. And if you go into their Milestones of Flight gallery, you'll see hanging from the ceiling the Spirit of St. Louis. And this plane in 1927 made history when Charles Lindbergh, for the first time ever, flew all by himself, solo, across the Atlantic nonstop, and it had never been done before. And when he came back to New York, nearly 1 million people lined Broadway and gave him a ticker tape parade. Yet today, what is that? Today, we go on holiday in Europe, or we go on a business trip to Europe, and we get into our plane. We get off, say, at Dulles Airport, which is close to me. We pull the magazine out of the seat pocket. We do the crossword puzzles as the mighty Atlantic Ocean is going beneath us, and we take it for granted. He was the first. And so that's what this model conveys. If you know something about the Spirit of St. Louis, just seeing this model gives you a sense of the history that you know. But what's also interesting is if you didn't know this was a plane, and you didn't know the history of the Spirit of St. Louis, it would just be a thing. And in fact, if you go to the National Air and Space Museum and to the Milestones of Flight gallery, the most visited museum on the planet, and you look up and you see the real Spirit of St. Louis, the real plane, but you didn't know about what it did, and you maybe not even didn't even recognize it as a plane, though that would be hard. If you didn't know that information, it would just be a thing. A remarkable piece of history is reduced to just a thing if we don't know the human stories behind it. And so human exploration and artifacts are tied together. The human stories behind the artifacts say an enormous amount about why something is important.